I often fantasised that I would halt at the very highest point in a jump and hover there, then begin to circle the perimeter of the sports hall, looking down on the array of beds with their red crosses and select which one to descend to, very slowly. Friends used to ask me if trampolining felt like flying, to which I replied that it did, knowing it was the answer they wanted. When I sit alone in my garden now, I track the journeys of individual bees: snapdragon, dahlia, verbena, salvia, dandelion, sedum, broadbean flowers, cosmos, 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 willing them to settle. In my early 30s, sitting on a bench in the walled garden attached to All Hallows Church, my reading was interrupted by my bench fellow saying, "I'm sorry, but you have a," and pointing to the exposed skin of my ankle, upon which rested a dragonfly, gleaming in the early spring sun. We both observed the creature, which was really incredibly beautiful, for a few seconds, and he returned to the lunch he was eating from a Tupperware with a fork. Needless to say, I hadn't felt the dragonfly land on my ankle, and even then I could feel nothing, though I willed myself to. The dragonfly stayed very still, seeming dead, and didn't fly away, even when, after many minutes, I crossed my ankle on the opposite knee and blew on it gently. I stayed on the bench for longer than I'd intended, allowing it to be where it wanted, wondering if I should interpret it as a sign. I knew very little about dragonflies. I discovered that they spent most of their lives as nymphs on the water and a matter of weeks or days on the wing. In its bodily metamorphosis, a dragonfly carries its nymph brain into its new form. When I close my eyes, I can also inhabit my younger body with ease. I remember the feeling of my nose touching my knees when I stretched before training. I recall the weight of a gymnastics coach, hard hands on my back pushing me down into splits. I have physical recollection of every move I ever knew how to do. In the months following the incident with the dragonfly, I sensed it was becoming bluer with each remembering. I developed a wish to have touched it with a finger and questioned what it wanted, though I'd had no such compulsion at the time. It had been stubborn, like a grief that wouldn't break. Perhaps it was simply presenting itself.